Tranquilities, salvar superiores. Quando facciamo soggiorno, alla fine che dà, vedi, che non so le cose. La gratuita, la pili, oggi vi repullo, lo guardare a dos, venire qua, allora una casa di massa fede, ma alla felice. Sì, alla felice, nari, da un fusto lì, smello te. Da un debit, da alla felice, nari. Amma è da bajo.
All right. It's Sunday morning, the day after the event, after 323, and there's a lot to go over. So I just want to go ahead and get straight into it. If you watched it, you know we got a lot to talk about. So, start with the main event. I had Marab only win in round 2, and I think it was because that was the only round Jan didn't like visibly hurt him, like the rest of the rounds, but it never felt like Marab wasn't just like a moments away from stealing this fight from Jan. Like he could pull off like a late sub victory, but I mean there was just too much blood, too much damage. But what an absolute legendary fight. I can't believe how good that fight was. I mean, for how one-sided it was. And Jan did exactly what I said he needed to do to win. Don't wait on Marab to give you the reads. Start faster than what you're used to. You know, front kicks to the body work. Let those hands and kicks go. Meet him there in the fire, on those entries. He didn't back up really all fight like Marab needed him to win. He let Marab crash in and punished him on the entries. I mean, later on in the fight, he just started really cracking him with the jab. And yeah, I mean, he just was hitting him harder on the exits too. He defended just about every takedown. I think a total of, I think it was like 27 officially, but I saw 29 somewhere else as well. But I mean, I saw a lot that weren't really takedown attempts. They were more like clinches to begin with. Jan was just timing them so well, and Marab started to slow down. Later in the fight, they just started to look more like clinches than they did takedowns. So overall, I think Marab gave Jan many more chances to damage him than any other of any of his other opponents on this title run. That's the most exchanges we've seen from Marab. And I mean, it just proved to be a huge factor here for Jan. Usually, Marab's just a lot more relentless with his takedowns. And I think Jan knew that if it was going to be by decision, he couldn't leave any room for the judges to rip it away from him. After all, he's had his moments of misfortune, right? He's all too familiar with that. So, I mean, what does this win do for Jan's legacy? I mean, the first time he got the belt, he almost streamlined. He was almost like streamlined to the belt where you could still say he had lots to prove for a champion, but we knew he had lots of potential. But that's just not typical most of the time, for a champion. And at the end of the fight, he gave his props to the opposing team. That just highlights how crazy of a path this guy took back to the title. He gave all the credit to his team, and I think he could be a big problem again at bantamweight. Well, not that he never was, like he stopped being a problem, but he's only 31 still, so we'll see. And I mean, Marab gave everything he had. He left it all in the cage, and I mean, what's next for him? He went for a fourth title defense, and Honestly, I don't think it was the weight cuts or activity that worked against him at all. I mean, Jan just deserves all the credit here. He just deserves all the credit. I mean, who does he fight next? Umar, in my opinion, is already lined up for an easy win versus Figueiredo. So I would say Jan versus Umar would probably be next. I mean, the Marab versus Jan rematch here would be nice. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing the trilogy at all. It's 1-1, and we got fight of the year contender last night. It's just he got his ass whooped though. Like just to be fair, like I mean, look at his face and look at Peter's face after the fight. Um but just to add a little bit more credit to Marab though, those body shots, they put most guys down. But he stayed on his feet and I don't know, maybe he should take some time off. I don't think Jan is gonna rush back in for a defense like Marab had been doing, so maybe they rematch 6 or so months later from now. So we'll see. I know Jan says he'll fight anyone the UFC wants him to. He's just a company man. So I mean, does the UFC want Marab to fight for the title again? I mean, there was a point where it felt like they didn't want him fighting for the belt because of his fight style, but that was before he had this all-time great run of the bantamweight title. So, I mean, the whole division must just be so happy to see Marab get dethroned. You know, I know O'Malley was. I saw some clips of him having just the time of his life watching Marab get fucked up. So the whole division needed some relief. I mean, we were at the point where Ayman Zahabi was being thrown in the conversation by some people. I mean, that's how quick Marab was running through contenders. We were starting to look outside the top five for potential opponents. So now the division is looking at endless possibilities here. O'Malley rematch, Umar rematch, Marab trilogy, Sandhagen rematch, Yadong rematch. I mean, but Umar is the only guy Jan hasn't fought yet in the top six of this division. I mean, there's just still so many killers just floating around. I mean, you really just do have so many matchups you can make here. So we'll see. We'll see. I personally would prefer to just see the Umar versus Jan match, but if Jan's not going to be so quick to defend the title, then just run back the trilogy. I think Marab definitely earned that. Not just because of obviously going on this great title run. I mean, just being such a great champion, but just the fight itself, even though he did get fucked up, he never seemed to fade away really. I mean, he slowed down a little bit, the later rounds, but he hung in there like a champion. Like I said, those body shots would put anybody down. So the fight itself was so pleasing to watch. Remind me of Peter Yan versus Figueiredo. If you guys remember watching that one, that was a good one. If you haven't watched it, you definitely should watch it. And it was just another one of those fights too, where Peter Yan clearly won, but just the level of skill being put on display for us as the fans, that was a real treat to watch. So I wouldn't mind seeing the trilogy. And I took a little bit of notes over the fight. I mean, Jan starts up round one, pressing forward, right? And Marab started landing some shots. Jan kept his long guard up, but then Marab gets cracked. Jan cracks Marab, and Marab, of course, grabs a leg and pushes Jan on the fence. And he has his hands locked around Jan. And I mean, as the fight goes on, Marab did not get his hands locked around Jan like he did this first round. Because I mean Jan just had good takedown defense from the beginning. I mean, later on it became just way better timing, obviously as the fight goes on, Jan gets better. So, but even to start the fight, Merab was getting Jan up against the fence, but Jan just kept escaping. He did not let Merab get him to the mat. So just really good takedown defense from Jan from the beginning of the fight. But Merab, of course, Jan would escape, but Merab would just get right back into his hip, pushing Jan against the fence, and then Jan just escapes again. This would be like a reoccurring theme through the fight. And then they end up finishing the round in open space with really no exchanges. So for that round one, I gave it to Jan because, of course, like I said, he did crack Merab. He just had the moment. Merab didn't really have anything in that round. He didn't really do anything with his control, but really just like a few knees to the thigh. So, but round two, Merab wastes no time pushing Jan on the fence again. I mean, he just goes straight into, I guess what was his game plan. So, um, Jan was just showing some great takedown defense again. He escapes, and I just remember seeing Jan like he just swung big, like with this overhand right. Initially, I thought he did miss, but they showed the replay later on. And I mean, he actually cracked Merab. I thought Merab just moved his head off the line, and it kind of just grazed him. But later they showed the replay, and Merab ate the shit out of that. uh, but yeah, Jan was in this round was just starting to open up the striking, and he even landed a takedown of his own. But that one seemed to be a mistake as Merab scrambles and reverses on top of Jan. But Jan was able to roll out with Merab on his back, and then Merab gets a guillotine on the fence, but it was never really a real threat. Jan escapes, but Merab is, like I said, just still relentless with his pressure at this point. Jan is not tiring out though. He's reversing Merab on the fence, and round two, I ended round two giving Merab a slight edge, but then, like I said, I did see that replay back of Jan, um, cracking Merab, but again, Merab ate the shit out of it. So, I mean, in that moment, I gave it to Merab, but I think I kind of take it back now. And anyways, round three, Merab gets slammed on his head, and Merab kind of creates his own moment too after that, and picks Jan off his ass and carries him around to prove a point. And like I'm still in this. My will is still strong. And Merab just can't hold Jan against the fence for too long, though. Jan just keeps escaping. Jan, at this moment, it looked like he started to slow down, but like I said, he was still ready for the takedown attempts. Just good defense on that all night. And at this point, it's just like, man, this is so high level. I mean, the pace is just crazy. It's like it's still this pace, going into round three. And then yeah, Jan hits Merab with a nasty body kick. Round three, I mean, that was just easily Jan. And round four, this is where I started thinking like this is looking like fight of the year potentially. I mean, this is where I was getting like that kind of like that deja vu with like the Peter Yan and Figueiredo fight. Like this was because that was also like fight of the year. Like to me, like I said, it was one sided, but I mean, just the level of skill being put out there was just such a pleasing watch as a fan. So yeah, round four, Marab just keeps pushing though. Like he's getting Jan on the fence, but he reverses and Marab gets a guillotine, but Jan slips out. And I just remember being like, man, this is so intense. Like my heart is just, I'm on the edge of my seat. And Jan actually catches Marab and he starts to hunt Marab down and like just punishing him with the body kicks. And at this point, the body kicks are slowing Marab down noticeably. And just timing his takedown with ease. I mean, he has just a really good read on Marab at this point. Round four, easily on. I mean, he just looks so locked in, flow state, whatever. Like you know exactly what I'm talking about if you watch that fight, especially if you're familiar with watching Peter Yan fight. You already know what I'm talking about. He just has a good read, and yeah, even though Marab was still, pushing so much, Yan was still there the whole time. In round five, the last round, Marab still has so much to give. Yan starts throwing oblique kicks though and low kicks. I thought that was actually really clever to start mixing in on the last round. Save those because at this point, Marab probably already knows like he's down big time. So start mixing in those oblique kicks and low kicks. I think that was a really good. That was a really good way to mix it up going into the last round. And I just remember like, just what the fuck am I watching, man? Jan is controlling the stand up, and now Marab is just being pushed back by Jan, and just Marab can't keep his hands locked around Jan. I mean, and Marab tried the guillotine again, but Jan just shakes out of it. You know, and eventually, like around with like a minute left, he just lands another body kick, and I mean, Jan just didn't let up. He didn't let up. I mean, he ends the fight with a takedown to really lock in, just such a dominant performance, just such a career-defining performance to get the belt back. So that's pretty much how that fight went. That's my recap of that fight. Now, the co-main, Pantoja versus Van, and I mean, just no words. No words, man. Well, I mean, actually, there is. Bittersweet. My like this was just my heart was beating hard for this one too. Like just adrenaline, just pure adrenaline for this matchup. I was just on the edge of my seat, ready. And Pantoja, he came out hard, swinging those hooks and throwing those heavy leg kicks. I mean, for what it's worth, like the 30 seconds we got, or however many seconds we got, it just looked like, oh shit, like this is gonna be this is gonna be a really good fight. And I mean, they clinched up once, and Van was able to push him off, and I couldn't see what happened initially. I was confused. But as soon as I saw Pantoja grab his elbow, I mean, I knew it was over because he started to wave it off like no, no more. And I mean, the look on his face just told you it was over. But I was still like thinking like how, like what happened? And then they showed the replay, and it looked just about as bad as you can make it look too. I mean, like if you ever go watch, some of the most gruesome injuries in UFC history, this is the one. Like you just put up there. It makes you wince. It makes you cringe. I mean, just horrific. And I don't know. I don't know the recovery time for an injury like that, but I can't imagine we'll see him back until like maybe late next year. You'd have to let an injury like that heal, and I guess, it looked like, it's at the elbow, so ligaments, tendons, I mean, you just got to rehab that and get it back to its original strength, the tendons and the ligaments. So, um, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I guess it really all depends on if he requires surgery or not, which I don't know. Um, and it just looks career altering, like a huge impact to the timeline here and how the division is going to shake out in 2026, you know? I uh I hope he turns out okay and just comes back with an even bigger appetite for that belt. I mean, losing it that way is obviously devastating, and he's gonna have to watch the division just move forward without him in the picture. So I'm sure he'll come back just as strong. He just needs to take his time, like because a title fight for whenever he comes back, it's already locked in. I mean, there's no debate about him coming back and getting an immediate title shot. But as far as Van, that's a different story. He took like no damage. Look, Pantoja was really starting to settle in with so many people of being that fan favorite. I mean, I remember being, one of the guys, whenever he beat Moreno to get the belt, was like, oh fuck, man, this grappler, just gonna make fights boring. But I mean, at least for me, that's what I thought, and that narrative changed substantially. I mean, he became one of my favorites for sure. I mean, just an inspiring story. I mean, like the whole thing, like the lore behind his dad, and his children being proud of him. He was a really inspiring champion. I mean, he was really growing into being the dominant champion. I mean, especially between now and his last fight. I mean, his last fight, he just made Car France look like he had no shot from the beginning of that fight to the end of it. And that's when I knew Pantoja is gonna run this division as long as he wants to. It's really up to him. When he says he's done, not anybody else for it's really not for anybody else to say, right? That's just how I felt. But Van came into the picture and you just couldn't quite count Van out. I mean, from what we've seen from him, but you also don't want to go against Pantoja either, like because of what he showed us. Like, you know, just what a tragedy, man. If somehow we don't get the rematch later too, like just that would be tragic. Just somehow we don't get the rematch later, especially with the belt on the line too. That would just be, man. Like I'm so happy for Josh, man, but I'm sad he didn't get to prove himself either, man. Like that's just such a bittersweet way to win. I mean, I was thinking in the post fight interview, what do you even say? I mean, obviously he was like really happy to win the belt. He comes from a war torn country, and his life just took a dramatic change so suddenly, just winning the belt like that. So, and a little side note, I work with quite a few Burmese folk, and they're pretty chill, man. Really nice people. I mean, I really have nothing but good things to say about his people, so I'm happy for him. I mean, he put his country on and he put H Town back on the map, but just not in the way that obviously I wanted him to or he would want to himself. So, I mean, he got a check. He got a check, the belt. He took no damage. If man, like Van won big time tonight when you just like put it like that. He won big time. Uh, and I'll take it, but I almost refuse to at the same time. Just not this way. I still really can't believe that. You know, you can't even call it a fluke either. It's worse than that. It's a robbery. Pantoja got his belt robbed. I felt like I got robbed of a good ass fight, and it's nobody's fault. It's nobody's fault. You can't blame anybody. And I'm sure a lot of fans feel that way too. A lot of people out there. I didn't think Aspinall versus Gone would be topped so soon for most bullshit way to end a championship fight. And Dana said the doctor said it was the shoulder. And I'm looking back to the clip like how? Bro is grabbing his elbow. And maybe it's because they showed that shit like 20 times back to back. Or maybe he meant it was like the shoulder too. I don't know. Dana just be lying, bro. Like for no reason. Well, I mean, I guess he has his reason, but I don't trust that pink ass head. I guess we're still hung over on this, but there really isn't like a clear next title defense for Van. Rogan said Tyra post fight, but Manel Cap fights Roy Val next weekend, or not next, but this weekend. And why not Cop or Roy Val? You know, put Tyra up against Horiguchi. Make that fight in Japan and see if it isn't the biggest event. But I mean, Horiguchi is already one of the best flyweights ever. Considering what he's done in the UFC and outside of it. So just a former Bellator champ, a former Rising champ. If he becomes UFC champ, I mean, we'll be talking about Horiguchi for, I mean, many, many years to come. He's already on that Mount Rushmore flyweights. So we'll see. Especially if Manel Cap has an impressive win over Royval too. So, but I mean, Royval already had fight of the year with Van. You know, I'd love to see that rematch for the fight, you know, itself, but I'd be scared for Van in that rematch. You know, it was a razor close fight, and ultimately one knockdown won him the fight there at the very end. So I think Royval would come back with a better game plan, and I mean, so would Van. But I don't know. That's one where I think the rematch could be a bad matchup for Van, and Van even has more pressure on him now. If he had never lost to Charles Johnson, I think he would have been like on a 14 fight win streak. You know, I think that gave him a little relief to know, like, you know, he could lose. He's human, but, you know, it never broke his confidence. You know, I watched plenty of Van media this week, as well as post fight, and he really believed he was going to win either way. So we'll see. As far as what's next at Flyweight, I mean, that division got shooken up in one night. I mean, depending on what happens this weekend with, you know, Cop and Royval, it could really get shaken up. You know, if Cop beats Royval, you know, then it's like, man, who do you put up against Van for his first defense? You put up Cop or you put up Tyra? You know, Tyra just beat the number 2 guy, and if Cop beats the number 3 guy, I mean, the possibilities are endless there too. Bantamweight and flyweight shaken up in one night. The UFC in like a really good position here. Possibilities are endless. So, all right, some of these other fights. Cejudo versus Talbot. Cejudo, one of the greatest combat athletes of all time, looking to end on a win. You know, he ain't seen one of those since he beat Dominic Cruz and retired on top. And I mean, just one of the worst ways to fuck up your legacy is come back and lose 4 straight. And and when this fight opened up, Talbot had the obvious speed advantage mixed in with the reach advantage, and that was all he needed to. So Cejudo still looks sharp as always. I mean, Cejudo himself is pretty quick. You know, he almost had a slick ass takedown off the eye poke, where he threw a right overhand to get an entry into the right ankle of Talbot. You know, and took him down for a second, but Talbot scrambled up too quick for Cejudo to do anything there. And Talbot then proceeds to take Cejudo down twice himself. Like you know, we were, you know, a year ago he lost to Ronnie Barcelos, and I mean, did you expect him to come back a year later and take down Cejudo twice in one round? I mean, he even hit a quick emote on that first takedown too. So yeah, round two. I mean, well, round one I had Talbot winning that pretty clearly. Round two, Talbot started good and he was using lateral movement and staying off the cage when Henry showed pressure. And Henry got him down, but Talbot avoided damage by, you know, throwing the hooks on Cejudo and worked his way up. And from this point on, he really opened up. He hit Cejudo with some good body shots. And I mean, he even almost finished the fight at this point. I mean, Cejudo looked nearly done, but he came back with a few shots of his own. But Talbot was just on him, throwing stepping knees, really damaging Cejudo, and he left Cejudo's face a mess, bro. He left that shit a mess. Round three, he continued to work the body of Cejudo, throwing knees in the clinch on the fence. I mean, round three was just the same. It was the same, but worse than round two. Henry didn't really have any moment in round three, but he stayed in there willing to throw shots, still standing in front of Talbot. Despite all those body shots, he was still throwing heavy. He didn't get the win, but he went out like a true champ. He shouted out the sport of MMA at the end there, the sport that gave him everything. That was the last thing he said on the mic. I thought that was pretty cool. And this was Talbot's welcome to the rankings party. He took out a Cejudo who already said before the fight he was going to retire, and Talbot had a big moment to show up for, and he showed up big time. What's next for him? Only, like I was saying, only less than a year ago, he got dominated by Ronnie Barcelos, and now he just put on maybe the best performance you could put up against Henry Cejudo. So we'll see what the UFC does with him. What other fight? Oh, Moreno versus Tyra. Again, this was another matchup that was just gonna affect the timeline here very heavily with the flyweight division. Tyra needs to win to keep this division alive. Like I said, Moreno. I mean, at this point, when this fight is going on, we didn't know what was gonna happen with Pantoja and Vance. So if Pantoja won and Brandon Moreno won, you know, that would just really suck for the flyweight division. Um, but again, especially if Cop can beat Roy Val next weekend, then this division is getting turned upside down. And then yeah, round one, Brandon Moreno, high guard. He has that high guard where he's just like sticking it out across the void, almost trying to bait you. But Tyra moving around, and Tyra goes for a takedown, but Moreno ends up with a triangle on the bottom, like the left side of Tyra. And he was just holding that triangle position and basically just won the round off just that weak control time. Because I mean, if he let go of that triangle, he's in a really bad position with Tyra on top of him. So he had to just hold that there the whole round and just take a easy round off Tyra, I guess, with just this, like I said, really weak control time. In round two, Tyra was threatening level changes. He eventually shot on Moreno, but Moreno had a great sprawl. Um, but eventually Tyra tripped him up shortly after, and he took the back and he got the body lock and started throwing heavy shots. And to me, there was really nothing Moreno could do to defend himself. I don't like at this point, the fight got stopped, and a lot of people, of course, it's a bad stoppage. It's an early stoppage. I mean, yeah, it is an early stoppage, but I mean, sure, you can give him a little more time, but he had the legs locked tight around Moreno. And from my point of view, it didn't look like Moreno was going anywhere. Anytime you let the fight go, any more time that you let it go, Moreno is just eating more shots there. I think it was not the worst stoppage. It was a little early, but I don't think it was that bad. A lot of people, I think overreacted a little bit on that one. Just a bunch of Moreno fans. Um, all right, but some of these other fights on the card, I mean, there was a ton of moments. I mean, this card, the early prelims started off with like 4 straight finishes to open up the card. I mean, it was a pretty good card overall, top to bottom. I mean, I'm gonna butcher some of these guys' names. What's this guy? Iwo Baraniewski. I'm not even gonna try to repeat that, but if you know, you know. The that guy with the other guy, his name was Ibo Aslan. I mean, they were slugging it out to begin their fight. I mean, I saw a clip of this Iwo guy. He said he didn't even remember the fight, post fight. I did remember seeing, like Aslan like hitting him with a shot, and then it just looked like in the replay, and it just looked like it woke him up, like Iwo, like he just kind of like recentered his focus and like ultimately just dropped this Aslan guy. So that was pretty funny to see. Um, Jalen Turner made his return, and to me, he should have never retired, man. I'm pretty sure that's what a lot of people think because I mean he was losing to good fighters. I mean the Renato loss was his fault, but losing to Ignacio Bahamondes, Dan Hooker, and Gamrot, those are respectable losses. And I mean you're only 30, bro. You still have a cheat code ass build at lightweight. Like I don't know. I saw something that says he never got fight of the night bonus. Maybe that's why he retired, or uh, or maybe that was McKinney. I think that was McKinney. I swear I'm not racist. But he got the dub, and I mean I've been said this, bro. Barboza, what are you doing, bro? Just put the gloves down, man. He needs to retire. There's no reason to keep taking this type of damage anymore. I mean, anybody can give you that take. I mean, that's the consensus here with Barboza, he actually almost fought Steve Garcia at one point. Recently. Just another example, like, why are you still fighting these killers, bro? Like you almost fought Steve Garcia, bro. Why are you doing this to yourself? I mean, you're not someone to fuck around with yourself, but those days of that chin holding up, they're gone. Just put it up, man. You had a great career. I mean, I don't know if you would put him in the Hall of Fame, but I mean, he's definitely a fighter that had some very memorable moments. Um, Marvin Vittori. I mean, his chin is still holding up, and Bruno Ferreira. I mean, he was looking tubby out there. I mean, he did miss weight, and I mean, clearly you could see. I mean, if you watched his fight before that, like he looked fat. I mean, he was never the leanest, but noticeably, bro had like some jiggly ass love handles. Um, Not to fat shame, but Bruno was throwing bombs. I mean, he just missed Martin's chin like a few times by an inch, where I was like, bro, Martin's chin is like historically a good chin, but this guy was throwing bombs and he missed by just an inch a few times. And anyways, it always feels like Vittori doesn't even throw enough to give himself a chance. He's just a really like safe fighter, very good defensively. Um, but yeah, Bruno gets the easy win in my opinion. Wasn't close. Um, and then Faraz Ziam, he gets a controversial stoppage himself. And I saw a thing where Aljo, I guess he tweeted, he disagrees with the stoppage. And I mean, it's just one of those really funny moments where, like, the moment where you fight to stop just correlates exactly when the bell goes off. And I mean, it is the ref's job to protect the fighters. So I don't think again, just like the other stoppage that was controversial this night, it wasn't a bad stoppage to me. It was a good finish, though. It was a good finish. And yeah, I just think, man, like, whenever you see like a fighter, like, after the bell goes off, like, they're just getting hit and they're like on the verge of getting finished, and then that goes off, and you don't call it off, and they stand up, and they're just like not even knowing like where they are, like they don't even know where the corner is. You have to point them to it. They're stumbling. They have like no balance. Like their equilibrium's off. Like to me, that has always been like a sign. Like, bro, you should have stopped the fight there. So I mean, he got up after the fight was stopped, and that looked like what I'm saying. Like, it looked like a proper stoppage to me. I don't think it was that bad, honestly. You could, it just we're used to seeing that sometimes, you know, where a fighter just, the ref lets them hang in there a little too long and they get up after the bell and I mean, they don't even know what the fuck is going on, you know. So, not a bad stoppage in my opinion. Um Emmanuel Torres, bro. Man, like the preview of this fight, of this card, man. That's one that I did want to get into a little more, but I didn't have enough time with the preview. But Manuel Torres is a problem at 155 because Grant Dawson is not an easy first round finish, and he did it just so impressively. I mean, he made it look easy against Grant Dawson. I mean, he just waited for his shot, and that's why he has so many first round finishes. I mean, like, well, I think this was gonna be his 17th win, and was gonna be his 16th first round finish. That's that's crazy ratio right there. That is a crazy ratio. That's some video game shit right there. You got the sliders all the way up, just cheating. But anyways, oh yeah, the Bogdan and Jan fight. I want to get into this one a little bit because Bogdan looks like a Russian Anthony Smith or wherever the fuck he's from. He's from one of the stands. I know that. Um, Look, Jan still has like the heaviest leg kicks. His legs are made of oak. And early on, Jan was piecing Bogdan up with, a heavy jab. Just because Bogdan wasn't really moving his head off the line enough. And but second round, timed a good counter and he dropped Jan, but uh, he got some good damage with elbows and punches. I mean, Jan's second round was Bogdan's for sure. But by round three, Bogdan's, I think it was his left leg, it was just trashed. Like so trash. He couldn't plant on it for shit. And he was just backing up and pivoting off, trying to catch Jan on a counter, but just not enough power on those, moving back to really damage Jan. So and of course the decision. I mean, Chris Lee was the only judge who scored it right. The other two just forgot how to score a fight. I mean, this card had so many finishes um before this. They just forgot how to score a fucking fight. Um I think a draw is ridiculous. I mean, I wanted Jan to lose just because I mean, you're already older. Just make way for the next wave of contenders, like, you were already champ at one point. You already lost to Pereira, who, you know, I mean, he's just been so dominant. And you lost to Carlos Olberg too, who's the next challenger for that belt. So um I think Jan won that fight for sure, round 1 and 3. Just a really bad stoppage and uh kind of feel bad for him. But yeah, I don't know. I guess that division needed that a little bit. They needed to they need to stop this guy from staying in the top 5. I mean, I don't know if his ranking will change, but we can't have him hang around too much longer. Um, as far as the other fights, I mean, it was a nice fight for Macy Barber, but I'll be honest, I only watched like half of it. I had to put my little bro on to a good ass fight, so I showed him the Roy Val versus Fan. Just for better context for the co-main. I mean, no disrespect, but a women's fight is always like the best time to just put on a good context fight. uh unless it's a title fight. I mean, that's just how I am. Anyways, yeah, I mean, those are really like the key fights that I would get into. Some other news across this card, UFC coming to Houston in February. Strickland versus Anthony Hernandez. I'm definitely going this shit no matter what. I'm definitely going to it. Um, I saw my goat Charles in the crowd. He's fighting Max at 326. 324 is stacked. I mean, they got Umar on the prelims versus Figueiredo. And then I saw Michael Johnson is still fighting. Like, Damn, bro is really still here. Um, Rufy versus Fiziev announced for 325. Dan Hooker versus BSD announced for 325. Those are some good fights. Tuivasa is also fighting Taliesin Teixeira. I hope Tuivasa can get it together. He he had some time off, and hopefully he was able to get his shit together. And then what else? Apparently Dana signed a new 5-year extension to stay CEO with the UFC. Don't really care, or I guess TKO. What it doesn't matter. Who gives a fuck? So yeah, that's my recap of this card. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and try to get this up quick. I kind of want to edit this video with some pictures, some clips if I can. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. And yeah, then I'll start working on the preview for this weekend's card. So please like, subscribe if you made it all the way to this point. I really appreciate you listening. Comment down below what you think. Share this if you can, please. And thank you so much. Bye.